Hello, this is Jamie with Supplier T News, and today is April 21st, 2021. For today's small business news, we're going to be talking about Biden announcing small business tax credits for employee vaccines, as well as interesting way for small businesses to understand what's going on with the global economy. So there's going to be 5 indices that we're going to be looking at, which I think is really cool and something that definitely needs to be talked about. But before we get into it, as always, if you like the content we provide, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment, and then share with other people you think may be interested in this content. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be honest, I have no clue how this is going to do, but I really think that some stuff in here is interesting, and I definitely want to talk about it. But first up, Biden tax credits. So according to Axios, where is it? Today, Wednesday, President Biden called on employers to provide workers paid time off to get vaccinated and recover from the recent pandemic. So as you can see here, where does it say? Here it is. Businesses with fewer than 500 employees will be reimbursed for any paid time off they provide employees. So up to $511 per day per employer. That's oddly specific. And the paid tax credit is funded by the American Rescue Plan. So pretty interesting. Obviously, great news to people who are interested in, pushing to get more and more people vaccinated. As you can see here, they've done some notes here. 30% of unvaccinated employees say they are more likely to get the shots if their employers offer incentives, and then 80% say they want employers to give them paid time off for any potential recovery. If you haven't had the vaccination, it's pretty interesting. Some people it does take them like a day or two to get better after the shot. So, obviously going the day, pay time off for the day that you take it, and then potentially the next day as you're looking to recover. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. But once again, the government is saying that they are willing to to pay off the time of employees. If you're paying somebody, let's say $10 an hour for a day, obviously 8 hours, so that's $80. So, up to 511 per day is pretty reasonable. I don't think, I think that's pretty reasonable. I didn't do the math on that, but, if we do 500 times 5, which is, a regular business day, that's 2,500. 2,500 times 4 weeks, that's about 10 grand a month. So up to a salaried person making about 120,000 a year is essentially what it's paying for. If you have somebody who's making a little bit more than that, then this may not cover everything, but still the the credit is better than nothing. But again, the main purpose of this, majority of people don't make that much money, so for the majority of small businesses, this is something that I do think is a benefit, and it pushes people to go out and get it, right? And in addition to that, if we're looking to get more people to do it by the summer, I've talked about this time and time again. We do know that come the summer, small businesses are expecting consumers to come back. This is just one way to assist with that. All right. Next up, 5 little-known metrics that help small businesses track the economy weekly. I think this is a really cool article here. So let's just talk about it. So basically, what this is covering is just small business indices that when you if you're ever wondering, I do talk about the economy a lot, but if you're ever wondering kind of what's going on, how's the economy doing, here are some 5 things and indices that you could take a look at. So number 1 is the Open Table State of the Industry Index. So as you can see, when more people are eating out, that's a good sign that consumers are spending. So Open Table is a popular app used by millions of people to make restaurant reservations. So each week since the beginning of the pandemic, the company has been publishing reservation data by country, state, and city, and this data has proved to be powerful, right? So if you're ever wondering, if you're a restaurant specifically, kind of what's going on, how the economy is doing, where are we versus, where we were before, this is a really good way to do it. As you can see, Pennsylvania restaurant reservations are still about 40% off. Philadelphia restaurants are off slightly as well. So we're just talking about reservations, but that's a really good initial indicator, right? Because people can still show up and, obviously purchase things, which there probably should be a kind of formula for that, to like, maybe 20% of businesses, non-reservation. But regardless, as we can see, when it comes to reservations, it's about 40% off. So we do see that there's a still a downward tick that we have to get up to. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, but the summer is where we're going to really understand where we are when it comes to everything that's been going on. Next up, Transportation Security Administration airport travelers, right? So TSA. Every day, the TSA publishes the number of travelers going through its checkpoints in U.S. airports. So once again, another good indicator to see, are people traveling back the way that they were? So far, travelers through the nation's airports are about 2/3 the level compared to this time in 2019. So that's actually pretty good compared to everything that we've been going through. So 66% about back. TSA, majority of flyers, people who fly don't use TSA. So if we're looking at 66% for non and TSA, I mean, I think that's really good, and we're really, at least when it comes to travel, it seems as if we're getting back to where we were. I do know some people are also going back to work now in buildings and facilities. It does seem as if we've turned the corner, and we're getting back to normalization. Next up, American Staffing Association. The American Staffing Association publishes a weekly index that measures the hiring of temp workers. Again, this is based on thousands of emails for annual sales for companies in for annual sales under 7.5 million, as you can see here, and then up to over 100 million. So again, for temp workers, gives you a really good gauge to see. This is just period, to be completely honest. So you can see, what if there's more jobs being hired, or I'm sorry, more people being hired for employment and for jobs. I'm pretty sure if like the infrastructure bill passes, this is going to take a huge jump, which is fantastic. So it's a really good way to kind of understand where are, in my opinion, kind of what projects are happening, what projects are happening, and where are people being hired at for opportunities in this way. Sorry, sorry about that. Next up is the St. Louis Fed Weekly Economic Index. This one's pretty interesting because it includes a ton of indices. So let's see, the index, which was created by two economists from the Federal Reserve and a Harvard professor, takes into account changes in consumer behavior. So where is it? So within the St. Louis Weekly Economic Index, these include Red Book same store sales, consumer index, new claims for unemployment insurance. Where is it? The tax withholdings, etc., and it also includes the American Staffing Association. Funny enough, their staffing index as well. So it takes a look at everything that they can kind of get their hands on in order to create this economic index, right? After falling to historic levels in April 2020, it is now at historic highs. To no one's surprise, the index has been very volatile, as has the economy. So just simply kind of measuring how it's growing or how it's dropping. It's a really good kind of indicator of where we're at with the economy. Is it growing? Is it dropping? Like, kind of, are we doing positive, negative? Just another index that I think is really interesting to, if you're just trying to get a quick understanding of where we're at. I mean, there's just so many here, right? If you're trying to understand what restaurants are doing, temporary staffing, kind of what's going on there. I mean, there's just so many different things. How are travelers doing? What is that? Obviously there are states such as like Las Vegas, for example, that is really big when it comes to leisure activities and whatnot. So having that, and understanding what's going on there is really beneficial for cities like that. It's so interesting. Okay, the last piece is the Baltic Dry Index, right? Now this one kind of threw me through a loop because I was like, Baltic Dry? We're talking about this is in reference to the Baltic Sea. I thought this was kind of weird that this would be added, but it's pretty interesting. Did you know that the Baltic Sea is one of the world's busiest traffic lanes for international shipping, right? And neither did I as well. This handy metric tracks the cost of freight for shipments in the Baltic. As the cost of freight goes up, that's an indicator of rising demand for shipments and more economic activity, and then obviously the latter and the opposite, right? It's pretty interesting. I actually, for the Baltic Baltic Dry Index, I actually took a look and I was like, okay, where's the Baltic at, right? Because as Americans, we may not know exactly what's kind of going on, in particular in like Eastern Europe, right? So the Baltic Sea, this is where it's at. It's by Russia. As you can see, how shipments can go from, it actually hits a lot from, I don't want to say Northern Europe, but kind of the, I forgot the name. of these type of states. Geez, I apologize. The only thing I can think of is Norse, but it's not Norse type of countries. But yep, so Northern Europe here, as well as Western Europe, and kind of a connector to Eastern Europe as well. So a lot of shipments are coming through there. And then I also kind of wanted to get a little bit more specific and see like kind of what kind of information are they providing. So the Baltic Dry Index, which tracks rates for capsize, Panamax, and Supermax. So these are just types of vessels or shipments or boats, basically bigger than boats, obviously, but it shows you kind of what's going on right now, right? And as you can see, the index is actually doing really well. The main index firm 14.4% this week. It's basically right now we're actually looking at record highs as of the past year and a half since we've been in the pandemic. So the Baltic Sea and shipments are actually doing record numbers right now. Over the past year and a half again. So we are seeing more shipments coming through there. So as we're opening up, we are seeing a lot more activity, which is good, and that's showing us that the economy is growing, at least for the short term. And again, once that summer hits, we'll be able to see exactly if we can get to some normalcy after that. So okay, with that being said, that kind of wraps it up here. I know this is kind of a weird piece, but I thought it was really interesting and something that everyone should be interested in and know if you're interested in a channel like this. So with that being said, as always, thanks so much for listening. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and also share with other people who you think may be interested in this content. All right, thank you so much and have a great day.